All right. So, Donald Trump had his first national interview since he was elected. So, with NBC. So, let's see what he said, and did his stance soften? Is he going even crazier? Is he about the same as when he ran? So, to the article. It's titled Trump Focuses on Tariffs, Immigration in First Network TV Interview. President-elect Trump doubled down on levying tariffs in his first days in office, minimizing his prior emphasis on retribution against his perceived enemies in his first network interview since he won the election. But in an interview on NBC News' Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, Trump also said he believed members of the January 6th committee should go to jail and said he'd work to end birthright citizenship of day one of his presidency. Okay, two things. Number one, doing stuff you don't like, realizing that you did crimes and holding you accountable for it is not in itself a criminal offense. So I highly doubt he has a legit reason for why these people should go to jail. And this is why so many people and Biden's team are considering giving pardons to these people. Not because they did anything wrong, but to potentially protect them from a administration that and a criminal justice system that might turn on them simply to please Trump. Let's see. And as for ending birthright citizenship, I'm sorry, that's in the Constitution. How the hell do you plan on doing that? It's not something he can just, with a wave of the pen, say the Constitution no longer exists. Not how this works. Where is the... He has also vowed to implement his top campaign promises, deporting all those in the U.S. illegally, pardoning January 6 rioters, and extending major tax cuts. Trump also promised he won't restrict access to abortion pills and hopes to find a legislative solution that keeps dreamers in the country legally. Okay, dreamers are undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children who have legal status under an executive action from former President Barack Obama. Now, in his first administration, he went after the dreamers. Now he's saying that they can stay. And he's going to work with Democrats to ensure that. So either he's changed his mind, which is possible, or one of his allies employs a dreamer, and that's why he's suddenly changed his tune, or he's lying. Of course, since he's already been elected, you would think that there would be no need for him to do that anymore, but he won't restrict access to abortion pills. Well, let's hope that that's true. He did say that he wants to keep it with the states. But then he also said that he would pass a national abortion ban and then backtrack, because he tells everybody everything in hopes that, no matter what he does, one faction can say, oh, he said he was going to do that. And the other faction will be disappointed because they believe what he said. So who knows? I don't know if that's a lie or not. I hope it's not. But, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to. Let's see. Of course, that major tax cuts are for the rich. Don't think that most people are getting a tax cut. He doesn't care about most people. When asked about going after President Joe Biden after inauguration on January 20th, Trump said he won't focus on the past. Right, except when it comes to trying to go after the January 6th committee. But otherwise, not looking into the past. Right. Okay. Retribution will be through success, Trump told Welker. I'm looking to bring prices down because I won on the border and I won on groceries. Well, that's not exactly a lie. That's true. That's why he won. Of course, it was much more complicated because most people either didn't hear about the bipartisan bill that Trump struck down, even though some people were screaming it from the top of their lungs. People elected Trump because they thought that he would bring down the price of groceries, ignoring people screaming at the top of their lungs what tariffs actually do. So, but he's right. He's right. Those people did vote for him because they either ignored what people were saying or they never actually heard it in the first place. But again, he still wants to jail the January 6th committee. That is not just retribution through success. He still wants to go after his political enemies. Trump had previously threatened to investigate, prosecute, imprison, or otherwise punish his perceived enemies, including Biden. Now, maybe Trump is being a bit more hesitant because Biden just pardoned his kid. So he's basically telling Trump, I'm not taking your crap. I'm going to protect however I can protect the people around me, the people I care about. So maybe he's calling Biden's, I wouldn't even call it a bluff. Maybe he's calling out Biden to see if he really would pardon everyone on January 6th committee. But then again, maybe none of them want it. Adam Schiff has already said that he doesn't want it because he didn't do anything wrong and that he would fight it if Trump went after him. And if the criminal justice system, which I think it's still at the point where justice still exists, it hasn't been completely corrupted, yeah, he could probably win. But how long will that last? So I would hope that in 4 years Trump doesn't destroy the Constitution and our court systems, our legislative system, the whole government. But he also has a better plan to go ahead with it, and possibly more competent, but just as morally bankrupt people around him. So it's possible he could do a lot more damage. Or he could be, again, based on his cabinet, picking people who are totally incompetent in their jobs, and so they won't actually manage to destroy anything because they're that incompetent. Or their incompetence will destroy everything. Who knows? All right. But when asked about the January 6th committee, he said, honestly, they should go to jail. When Welker asked him if he'd press his FBI director to prosecute them, Trump said, no, not at all. I think they'll have to look at that. Right, because he named Kash Patel because he wanted him to be independent. Kash Patel is firmly entrenched inside Trump's ass. He will do everything that Trump wants, plus he has an enemies list of his own. So he might say right now that make it sound like he wants the FBI to be separate from him. If that were the case, he wouldn't be trying to boot Christopher Wray. He would be keeping Christopher Wray on until his tenure is up. The fact that he's already named a replacement, yeah, that doesn't say that he wants the FBI to be independent. In the unedited transcript of the interview, Trump spent a lot of time repeating a false claim that the committee had destroyed evidence. It didn't. And said he plans to follow through on his pledge to, on day one, pardon people who have been convicted of crimes for their activities on January 6th, though he said the pardons would be considered on a case-by-case basis. Yes, he's claimed that he's not going to pardon the ones who did anything violent. Now, whether that's true, who knows? Maybe it is, but I have a hard time believing that that's true. The president-elect also maintained his plans to levy heavy tariffs on the nation's top trading partners such as Mexico, Canada, and China. When asked about whether this would increase prices for consumers, as many economists have warned, Trump said, "I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow." Which is him basically covering his ass because he knows damn well that that's exactly what tariffs would do. But if he says, "I can't guarantee it," people can just point and say, "Oh, well, Trump suggested it could happen." But the fact is that Trump also campaigned on lowering the price of groceries. So I just don't see this as a winning issue for him. People are going to quickly get pissed because, like I said, he's covering his ass by saying he can't guarantee prices will go down. But at the same time, he campaigned on the fact that he would lower the price of groceries. He said that tariffs would be paid by the country that's doing the importing, the exporting country, which he knew damn well, along with those of us who actually paid attention in school, that tariffs actually are paid by the consumer because it is a tax on companies in the country, and of course they're going to pass that cost on to the consumer because that's what they do. So yeah, I don't know why he's saying that now, because I guess he's hoping that at some point prices will go down. I honestly have no idea what he thinks he's gaining by admitting now that prices might not go down. I guess maybe that way the ire would not be towards him, but to, I don't know, Democrats maybe, or economists, or, the people who know what the hell they're doing. Because again, Trump knows damn well what tariffs do. He knows damn well what he's doing. It's not like he is, because he told people that tariffs are paid by the exporting country, that he truly believes that. No, he doesn't. He has admitted that that's a bullying tactic to get countries to make more of their products in the U.S. That is literally the only reason he's doing this. Because he's a bully and he doesn't know how else to deal with the world. He only knows how to bully. And he thinks that bullying will get him everything he wants. And no, there are plenty of people who stand up to bullies. When pressed further by Welker on the fact that tariffs from his first administration cost Americans $80 billion, the president-elect pushed back, saying tariffs cost Americans nothing and can be even a tool of diplomacy. Again, that is him, he just can't admit that he can do anything wrong. And as for a tool of diplomacy, no, it's a tool of bullying. But maybe Trump doesn't know the difference between the two. Maybe his idea of diplomacy is strong-arming people to do what you want. That's not diplomacy. Diplomacy is, okay, this is the issue we have. Let's get together and see how things can be mutually beneficial. Which is the exact opposite of bullying. All right. I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight? It's great. But both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. Trump said without providing evidence of any wars he stopped. And I was just about to ask, what wars is he talking about that he stopped through tariffs? Because right now, the only wars that are going on are with countries that don't import to the U.S. So, well, there is Russia. But that obviously didn't stop shit. So, I don't know what war he's talking about. I mean, maybe he thinks he was some sort of tactical genius with China, but we weren't at war with China, so I honestly have no clue what the hell he's talking about. Maybe he's hoping that the people who watch NBC are dumb as rocks and will just drooling say, that's good, as opposed to, using a brain and realizing that didn't happen. All right. Trump has often pointed to tariffs as a source of revenue for the federal government to offset the losses due to his tax cuts in the first term. Okay. I have no idea how that's supposed to work. He has also promised to drastically cut federal spending through the Department of Government Efficiency, an outside group led by tech billionaire Elon Musk and former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Trump said Social Security and Medicare are not on the chopping block. Trump has said that before. But because he doesn't know all that goes into these programs, the people around him can trick him into greenlighting something that actually goes against what he promised. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are indeed on the chopping block and that Trump just doesn't understand enough about those programs to realize that he's screwing people over. Or that he really cares. And as far as the Department of Government Efficiency, it's not a department. It's not something that he just made up out of whole cloth. That is not how you create agencies. Congress is the only one who can create an agency. That's why this is considered an outside group. Even though it's called the Department of Government Efficiency, it's not a department. So, I said to people, we're not touching Social Security other than we make it more efficient. Trump said. And this is where loopholes upon loopholes upon loopholes will allow Elon Musk to gut Social Security. Because they'll just say they're making it more efficient, and because Trump doesn't understand these things, he'll agree to it, and you end up with no Social Security. But the people are going to get what they're getting. Okay? That actually is probably true. Just possibly not in the way people think. You're going to get what you're getting could just mean Trump saying that he knows people are going to get butkus. Now, maybe he truly thinks that Social Security will remain. Or maybe he's doing his classic doublespeak where he knows damn well that people aren't going to get anything, but he's going to make it sound like he is still on your side. On the topic of healthcare, Trump did not offer a clear path forward. During his first presidency, Trump spent his first months in office trying to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. And he even said during the debate with Kamala Harris that he has concepts of a plan. Now, that would sound fine if he wasn't already president once. I mean, seriously, it took you a decade to figure out a concept? All right. When asked if he'd do the same this time around, Trump said, "Obamacare stinks. If we come up with a better answer, I would present that answer to Democrats and to everybody else, and I'd do something about it." Which sounds good. That if they could come up with something better. Now, whether they will come up with something better or with anything at all is a different story. But as of now, that sounds good. Do I believe it's going to happen? No. Immigration remains a top priority for Trump. During the NBC interview, he stood by his plans to implement mass deportations of people living in the U.S. illegally, which is different than just saying, oh, we're just going to concentrate on the criminals. No, well, I mean, technically, being here in the country illegally is a criminal activity, but it's a freaking misdemeanor. Trump said he'd start with convicted criminals, but he'd go beyond that group. Exactly. So the people who voted for him, because, oh, goody, goody, he's going to just get rid of the convicted criminals. I'm sorry, that's being done already. Now, is the system perfect? No. Obviously, people with a rap sheet somehow managed to cross the border again. Nobody is saying it's perfect. Everybody knows that the system is broken. But to say that Biden just, invites criminals in, no, that's not how it works. And he said he'd go beyond that group. So basically, anybody who is undocumented is in trouble. Even if it's going to gut the economy, he's still going to get rid of you. Even if you're in a mixed status family, the one spouse and children are citizens, but the other spouse is not. Oh well. Well, I think you have to do it, and it's a very tough thing to do, Trump said. Well, at least he acknowledges that. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. Now, I've mentioned this before. My problem with him going after undocumented immigrants is that who they consider to be undocumented, who they consider to be illegal, those with protected status. They have already mentioned, J.D. Vance mentioned during the vice presidential debate, that he doesn't consider those people to be here legally. So they could technically be here legally, and this administration would still try to get rid of them because they don't acknowledge that they're here legally. When asked if he wants Dreamers, those brought to the country as children and registered to the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program to stay in the U.S., Trump said, "I do. I want to be able to work something out." Which is great if true. Which is really great if true. But he also repeated his desire to end birthright citizenship on day one, though he conceded it may require constitutional amendment. Which would take a long time, if ever. Okay. The 14th Amendment allows for birthright citizenship. The only way to repeal the amendment is to pass a subsequent amendment, which we have done this before. So, yeah, it will require a constitutional amendment. And considering how slim the margins are in both houses, Republicans control all of government, but it's a slim majority in Congress. So there's no guarantee that they would end birthright citizenship. I don't think there's enough Looney Tunes in Congress to actually do that. Plus, then it has to go to the states, and each state needs to approve the amendment. So it's not like even if they had all the, a huge majority, that's all it took. They would have to go to the states. And even though I think most states have Republican governors, I don't know about the legislature. So it's not a guarantee that enough states would pass the amendment. All right. "We have to end it," Trump said, adding that it was ridiculous. He also said birthright citizenship was uniquely American, though more than 24 nations provide it. Yeah, why is it he only considers things he doesn't like to be uniquely American? For someone who keeps saying, "Make America Great Again," it makes me wonder if he thinks that America was ever great, because he spends most of his time shitting on the country. And if you don't believe me about more than 24 nations provided, I had this coworker originally from India, and every time, she lived and she got married in India, but before her children were born, she was living in the U.S. And every time she was about to give birth, she went back to India, so they would have Indian citizenship. Now, granted, she said she did this for her mother, but it made it hard for the kids because they're living in the country and they're not U.S. citizens. So yeah, other countries do have birthright citizenship. Trump is just trying to either shit on us or he's trying to shit on other countries. I'm not completely sure about this. Because I assume because he doesn't like it, he's just shitting on us. But anyway. Asked about mixed status families, he suggested the best way to avoid family separation would be to send American citizen children away with their undocumented parents. And he acknowledged that there could well be images that emerge from these policies that turn the public against them. Huh? Okay. First off, if that's true that he wants to send the kids away with their undocumented parents, that flies in the face of him wanting to give citizenship to Dreamers. Because even if he were to do that, he's basically saying, oh yeah, but if you don't want to be separated from your parents, well, you'll just have to leave with them. Now, these are children who have never known any country but the U.S. It's doubtful. I shouldn't say it's doubtful, but it's not a guarantee that they even speak the language of their parents, their native language. I know that my brother and I, when up until preschool, we did speak Slovak, but all our friends were speaking English, so we made our parents stop speaking Slovak to us. We did not want to learn Slovak, we only wanted to speak English. Of course, my brother and I both regret that now, but that's not the point. The point is that there could be other families that either the parents decide not to speak their native tongue, or the kids don't want to learn, or whatever the case may be. It's not a guarantee that if you send them away, that they even know the language. So, how are you doing the kids a favor exactly? Anyway, and he acknowledged that there could well be images that emerge from these policies that turn the public against them. I assume turn the public against the administration, that they'll be seeing all these families either torn apart, or these kids who've never been to their parents' home country, or don't speak the language, or for whatever reason don't want to leave because, this is the only home they knew. And Americans are going to see either the families getting separated or the kids being forced to go with their parents because they're undocumented. I'm going to say most people would have a problem watching that. Now, there are some people who are lacking in empathy and who could watch that and have no emotion whatsoever because their parents are criminals. But, that just shows that you don't actually possess empathy. But I'm sure there's quite a few people who are going to be mortified. And I don't think it's just Democrats who will be mortified. On abortion, Trump continued to acknowledge the political potency of the issue and said he would not get in the way of abortion pill distribution. That also implies that states that are going to try to ban abortion pill distribution can do that as well. So basically, Trump, in trying to be reasonable, is actually condemning women to being forced to give birth and possibly dying, or giving birth to a non-viable fetus simply because of what part of the country they live in. Yeah, that's not moderate, my dude. Will you restrict the let's try that again. Will you restrict the availability of abortion pills when you're in office? Welker asked. I'll probably stay with I'll probably stay with exactly what I've been saying for the last 2 years, Trump said. And the answer is no. So hopefully he means that. He surrounds himself with people who don't think like that, so he could easily be tricked into doing that very thing. So do I believe? I mean, it's possible he truly believes this. The question is the people around him and how they convince him to do the thing he said he wasn't going to do. So it's a toss-up. Anyway, that is the end of this article. So, I can only hope that things are not going to be as bad as I'm afraid it's going to be. But you really never know. It really depends on whether the Republicans in Congress grow a spine, especially since Trump can't run again. And hopefully they're willing to put their foot down. They've already made sure that Rick Scott isn't the Senate Majority Leader. They've already gotten Matt Gaetz to bow out as Attorney General. So I'm hoping that this trend continues. Now, Pam Bondi is more approvable, but she's still a Trump lackey. So I don't know how much of a improvement that is. Anyway, I believe that is all I have for this video. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.